Shads, welcome to the show.
Thank
you for coming on board and to give your tactical breakdown of Man United versus Southampton. You have got a lot of experience in the game. Talk to me a bit about your experience in that and how you felt, obviously, going through the years.
So, look, I've been in Mongolia national team, worked in Samoa as a manager with Roberto while he was at Everton and Wigan, and was at Belgium with him and still at Belgium.
Okay, thanks. I remember all that, yeah. No worries.
You got jokes for the first time.
I'm saving. This is all recorded anyway, so that's going on already. It was a 0-0 game in the end. It wasn't short of incidents, that's for sure. A red card from Casemiro once again, second red of the season, now out for 4 games. And it was a game where I saw Man United kind of a little bit off the pace. We had the exuberance, we had the work rate there, but just the final ball was always a problem. And then I just thought, look, we're going to come into the game later on, and we was just getting into our flow, and then Casemiro gets sent off, and then it becomes a tough game to win, and Southampton really should have ended up winners. But Shadab, tell me, how did you see the game, and what did you think about it?
Well, I was actually there for work purposes, so during the game, I was thinking maybe what would you do as a manager at half time. And I thought United did struggle in the first half. But when I actually watched it back, I actually was really impressed with the game plan from Eric. I thought it was a very good game plan, very clear. Obviously, the sending off changed everything. But I thought that half time, what direction would the game go in? I thought, would he continue to attack? Southampton being sort of on the relegation, would he take the game? But I thought he was very decisive. I think the substitution with Scott McTominay was clear with direction he wanted to take it in. And I think that's one of the biggest things with Eric. He's very decisive. Whether sometimes he makes good decisions or bad decisions, whatever it is, but he's decisive. I think that's a big thing. And I thought it was a great game plan. Obviously changed, but I think we'll go through for what I saw and what the game plan was with and without the ball.
Okay, so before we do that, obviously you have I just wanted to mention, guys, you have a show which is very, very interesting on BBC iSport. BBC Sport, is it? No, it's not BBC
iPlayer.
Yeah, it's on BBC iPlayer, and it's called. You can tell us exactly what it's called, and then obviously let everyone know what it's all about.
Yeah, it's Fight at the Fort on BBC iPlayer. We turned down Netflix all or nothing to go with the BBC iPlayer. It could have been called Nothing or Nothing, to be honest with you. But no, I took a job in Scotland with Fort William last January, and the BBC did a documentary on it for the remaining of the season. I won't say too much. Hopefully you'll enjoy the show, but I will say it was an interesting job, a very tough job, but it was a great experience. And the documentary hopefully highlights all the problems and all the controversy we had. Yeah, the gaffer Roberto has been great with me. I met him at Wigan. We sort of helped him with the opposition scouting. Then when he went to Everton, I kind of just tagged along. I didn't really give him an option. And then when he went to Belgium, I actually went to Mongolia. I managed over there, managed the national team over there. Then went to Samoa myself and managed. And then I came back and I wanted to link up with the boss again. And I did. And then I was able to get a job at Belgium, where I've really enjoyed my time. The Belgian Federation have been brilliant. Honestly, been absolutely fantastic. And I'm still there. I know Roberto's obviously moved on, but I was able to stay and hopefully, be able to help them in the next chapter now, and really happy with that. So that's been sort of my journey. Obviously, I've been in Scotland in between that. And again, that's the work with Belgium. They were able to let me to go to Scotland and combine things. So very, very happy. Did my coaching badges at a very young age. Got my B license at 19, A license at 22. So just ticking along, and I met some good people in the game, and you're one of them.
Yeah, and you forgot to mention that amazing academy that you worked with as well. Talk to me a bit about that academy.
Say again. You broke up there. Yeah, a very good friend of mine, Adnan. He kind of cornered me in and brought me down, and said he had a few ex-players. There were some great players. Emerson Boyce was there. Pascal some excellent players, and there was another lad there. He's claimed to be a striker. I never heard of him, to be honest with you. But you're finishing. When you finished, I realized that you must have played somewhere. And And yeah, so you were good. You always up for joining in sessions and doing good. And your finishing sessions were good, to be fair. Your
Thank you.
demos were decent. I didn't know about the quality of the rest, but good. And then what can I say? That was it. And then somehow you've stayed in touch, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Well, it's been good. It's been good. But look, let's get back into the the analysis of the game. So take it away with your screen share, and
Yeah.
we'll take it from there.
So I think it's really important. Under Ruben Sellers, who came in against Chelsea, I was actually at the game, Chelsea versus Southampton, and they played 4-4-2. They changed once against Leeds, and they played 4-4-1-1. But at halftime it was. But ultimately, we always knew that Southampton were going to be in a 4-4-2. And this was a manager that was very clean what they did. They're working very solid defensively. So it was really interesting to see what Eric did. And Eric's game plan with the ball, I thought, was very, very clever. In the build-up, I thought he actually built with slightly deeper fullbacks. So I think it's very clear Southampton were going to be 4-4-2. Under the new manager, Ruben Sellers, he's played 4-4-2 in every game. He changed once against Leeds and played 4-4-1-1. But ultimately, this is a team that's 4-4-2, that's working very much without the ball. So you could see, and as a manager, you're always aware of what opponent manager you're going to have. So very clear 4-4-2. And Eric knew this, and then the game plan was very clear in how he wanted to dismantle this 4-4-2. Manchester United on paper were 4-3-3, but I think what was key was the 2-8s in Jadon Sancho and Bruno Fernandes. I think that's real thinking why he picked those two players and the role that those two players had. But in the build-up, his game plan with the ball was to build with deep fullbacks. And the reason is, what I think was, Southampton wanted to press when the ball went wide. From a 4-4-2, what's very normal is when the ball goes wide, your winger goes, and then you back it up with the whole team coming over. But one of the biggest thing was by having deep fullbacks, it made that distance a little bit more difficult. Some of that I did in Scotland, where I played 4-4-2, and one of my answer of the questions the wingers had would, if the fullback was that deep, would you go? My answer was no, because it was another centre half. But this was the problem that Eric was going to cause. So I think that was one of the biggest things. But what was really impressive was the role of the eight. So when that deep fullback would go, Jadon and this side would come out wide. And what it automatically did, it would have used the space that the 4-4-2 would naturally give you. The 4-4-2 protects the middle really well. But by coming out on here, it becomes, you create a natural overload. And that's what I thought the positional play of United was very good. On the other side, when Luke Shaw had it, Marcus would go there, and then you get Bruno, who, what a play Bruno Fernandes can play in 3 or 4 different positions, and then you get that overload there. So for me, I think that was the main thinking of Eric sort of game plan with the ball, just to use the space that Southampton were going to give, but use it in a really good way. So I think that was one of the biggest things there. And if we go now, so you see here, that's Luke Shaw. There you see Bruno, and then you've got Marcus on that side. And then on the other side, even though it's slightly different, what you see is that the two with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Anthony, and Jadon Sancho. So getting 3 players wide was going to be one of the biggest things. And what did that do? I think the first thing we look at is why. We know why he was doing it, but then the big question is, what was it going to cause Southampton problems? Now, the first thing is, on this side, if your winger still jumps, then what it means is that your fullback's got to follow. And then your centre-back has got a big question to, does he come out? And straight away, you can start to see that does not look a great backline. And I think if you look at the game, I think on the big Aaron Wan-Bissaka when he went inside, and Rashford's chances, the centre-backs are out. I mean, you don't want your full-back there. You don't want your centre-back there. And the worst problem is if this player goes in, you've got big problems. Because then you've got full-back. No full-back in the world wants to cover that. I mean, Nathan, you've been a striker. If you see a fullback with that much space, you're getting goals, aren't you?
Yeah,
I think that's a big thing.
And your wingers in acres of space as well. If you do that and you drag the whole team over there, you're going to be in acres of space. And Anthony, obviously, would have a field day there. It's just unfortunate that we went down to the 10 men. But yeah, looks good.
But the big question I have now is if, for example, from this side, if Sancho makes that run in there, you've got Fernandes with the ball there. What does this player do? If he tracks, you might as well just get ready for kickoff. And if he doesn't, you might as well get ready for kickoff again. So either way, you're taking kickoff. And I feel for the fullback because, you're covering 3/4 of a pitch. And I think, that's what the thinking was. And he was able to dismantle the back line very well with his positional play. And I think that was one of the biggest things what the idea was. So even though it's 4-3-3 on paper, it was very much you attacking the wide areas Man United were, and you were dismantling that back line early on. That's where the big chances from Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Marcus Rashford came. So you look at this. So there's the left back, there's the two centre backs, and this is the full back that we're talking about here. And you see how he's been able to dismantle that shape. So I think that's a really big thing. That was the thinking behind it. But what I was more impressed about, and this was, I didn't, to be honest with you, I actually went through when I watched the game again. I understood where you can pause the game, you get a bit more time. We all know Eric's come from the Pep sort of way of working with a really good width. And what we saw in this game was slightly different position from the winger, rather than being stood out here. And what that does, to be fair, it actually stops the fullback from pressing. What I thought was really impressive and clever, I think that's the word that I used when I was thinking about this, was Anthony would get inside. And what it did allow was the fullback then freedom to go. Because when you're inside, you have that thing where that's your centre-back taking over. But now your fullback goes. And what United were able to do then was open space in that back line. I think Pep did it against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He pinned the wing-backs at that time by having that way. If that winger stays there, the fullback never jumps. And then you get space here, which is not a problem. It's still good. But by being in a little bit, you allow that fullback to come. And then United were able at times to get in. And that's a really good position. I think this is something which is going to come into the game. I think these positions here, I saw Brighton do it under Roberto, where they're just sort of playing those pockets there, but very high on the last line. And I think that's coming into football because it really can control a back four now or five. If he doesn't go, as we see in one of the slides later, this player gets a lot of room, and depending on who's covering or not, you're in a win-win position. If he stays, you have space there. If he goes, you have space here. So it's just where the space comes. So I think that's a very clever thing what Eric did with the wingers positioning to tuck in, to really allow the fullback to go.
Obviously, early on, we did get the chances, as you say, and we did split them quite a bit. It was just the final ball, which meant that we didn't get that goal. So, and I could see it coming, exactly what you're seeing there. I could see that goal coming. I wasn't seeing it in that amount of detail, but I could definitely see that we were in control and we were looking like we're going to get a goal. And what was it, 31 minutes or so, Casemiro gets sent off.
Yeah, so you just look at the inside position there. You see Marcus a little bit more, not as much, and I think that's the profile. I think Marcus is a guy who wants to attack space a little bit more, so he's always going to be like that. But you look at Anthony's position there, and then you got the fullback problem. Does he go? Does he not go? You're in a no-win situation there, because if you go, there's space in behind. If you don't go, you're going to have Jadon Sancho running it. And I think that's, again, the cleverness of the players by having Bruno and Sancho there really changes things. So I think that's a big thing. So, but what impressed me the most, Naif, was actually his work without the ball, because you play against Southampton, a team that's going to counter. If you actually stop them with the ball, you're going to dominate even more. And I think it's very clear how Eric sets up. I think it's not that he man marks in midfield, and there's no sort of he does this regularly. And I think what was in this game, what was interesting was the positioning of the front man. Weghorst, that's the one. Yeah, he's lost there. Normally against Liverpool, I saw him play on Fabinho, and in this game, I saw him play on the first line. And what we saw was this, where you had Romeo, what a young talent the player is unbelievable, and then you got James Ward-Prowse man marked. But what you had slightly different now was Casemiro being free. So in games when sort of the striker would drop in, Alvarez, Rafael would go with him. But in that moment there, you had Casemiro to come as well. So you actually had very much complete control of that centre of the pitch because you had 1/3 and then you were man marking in there. And I think that was a big thing where, excuse me, where you control that middle of the pitch by having that 3v2 overload. And then if a striker dropped in, you would go and you would create that sort of domination in there. And Southampton was, in a way, struggling a little bit, really create something. And that gave Man United more time on the ball. So I think we got a few here. So you look, the man markings we expected there, the front three.
Yeah.
And then you got this box here. So there's Rafael going tight, you had Casemiro coming, and then you were able to really cage that then. And what I think the biggest thing here is the positioning of this other player. So Marcus in this situation, he comes right in. Now, if you win the ball back, Marcus is in a position where you can transition.
Get straight in behind that centre back. One centre back just sitting there, and the flanks are all open.
That's it. You're proper natural striker, aren't you, Neff? Always thinking about how to score. But if you put yourself in that position, as soon as that ball is turned over, you're gone.
Yeah, it's over.
Gone. You might have to start a little bit higher. I know you like pacing in your game.
Yeah, right.
I heard you were good in the air as well, apparently. So
of course, I was good in the air, good on the floor, left foot, right foot, had everything, lad. Had everything.
So I can't see your head's gone too big on the screen. So so I think it's that position there. I think is really crucial because that's where I think you're always trying to score goals. United are always thinking, how do we score goals? Even when we haven't got the ball, how can we score? And I just wanted to also show something that I spotted because obviously I watched the Liverpool game as well. And
what, against United?
Yeah, against United.
You have to bring that up, don't you? You have to bring that game up. Go on, tell me.
So what was interesting was obviously there's a lot of talk about how Liverpool sort of set up and Gakpo coming in and dropping in as false nine. But one of the things that I saw in the Southampton game that was similar was, so you look at this sort of here, obviously Liverpool had an extra man, but what will cause United problems? It'll be interesting to see when teams do this. So when they go with that three in there and the fullback goes, because Anthony doesn't track. And I think that's an instruction because if you win it, then he can counter. But what will happen when, so Nunes got very central. And then you have a problem where, like that there, so the fullback goes high, which is trying to organise this in Liverpool ships, the 4-3-3. And then you got Gakpo coming in. So what Liverpool did with Robertson being high, now you can't jump with Varane because you're not going to leave 1v1, especially the profile of Nunes. So what actually happens then, your two strike centre-backs are sort of pinned in. And that's where the overload then, because nobody can get to this player because that player can't. So it'll be really interesting to see how Eric deals with this because Liverpool, I thought, laid a bit of a blueprint on how to dismantle that midfield. There was one or two moments in the Southampton game that happened.
Yeah. The risk Walcott got through, didn't he? Walcott got through one-on-one early on. And then the Liverpool game, it's Gakpo who was there. Fred got dragged. I think it was Dalot got dragged out. And Fred got dragged to defend at right back. And then he didn't know whether to go or stay. And that's when Gakpo made that run inside. The ball got played in through Robertson, and then he's cut in, and Varane then has to recover, and he can't do nothing about someone cutting out and then putting the ball in the bottom corner. So it's great work from Liverpool, to be honest. That first goal from Gakpo. So
I think the Nunes position and the Robertson going high makes a big difference. But again, I think also one thing that I would probably be thinking is Liverpool are quality on the ball. You have to be brave to send your fullback knowing that Anthony's not going to recover. Because if you lose that, you're taking kickoff. It's one of those. If it works, you're brilliant, you're a genius. If it doesn't, you've really left yourself open. So I think it's something that I think Eric will be looking at, and it'll be interesting to see how he deals with it. Because no doubt his Ajax would have had similar problems and people would have tried it. So it'll be interesting to see how he deals with that. So that'll be something to watch really going forward.
Another question I want to ask on that one though is if you can bring that back up again.
Yeah,
I do notice that Wan-Bissaka and Delo, they're told to do something very different than they've been doing in recent seasons. And you notice that they're always getting up in like inverted, and they're going up and they're staying in there, and they're pushing players up to make sure that most of their players stay so far back in defense. So when they win the ball, they can't transition and get forward quickly. Is that what you see happening as well?
yeah. I think we saw Wan-Bissaka's chance came with Anthony wide, and Aaron went straight in. And one of the biggest things, I think United are getting to a level where they're flexible a little bit more now under
Yeah,
Eric. So sometimes they come in, sometimes stay wide. But having such wide wingers, I think there was a little bit less in this game because of that. They wanted to let the fullback jump, but it really allows that space inside. And I did see
yeah,
Luke Shaw come in. Now, you'd have watched Man United a lot more than me this year. This was interesting to see Luke Shaw drop in here and being
yeah,
left-footed, very able to open up the play quite quickly. So
mm,
I think the fullback role is changing. I think when you
mm,
played, the fullback was to defend and
yeah,
maybe get the ball to the winger or clip the ball into the corner for you. Then I
yeah,
think it became a little bit different. They got forward. Now they're asked to play more inside. And I think Eric's changing it a little bit to get a little bit higher because I think we know fullbacks under Pep have come in there a little bit. So I
yeah.
think it's the role of the fullback is changed now. I think it's unique now, fullbacks.
Okay, so you're going to talk to me about the sending off and how Man United and how Man United changed coming into that into once we went a man down and we went to
Yeah,
10 men. How did it go? Talk to me.
I think straight away when it went down to 10 men, the first question I thought was, which direction is this game going to go in?
Mm,
I thought United would still stay on the front foot and Southampton would then drop. But then I think he played his hand with McTominay coming in, with Scott coming in
mm,
straight away. I think he played his hand and said that we're going to go with a proper six in there. But what I thought was really good was the way they said, okay, we're going to give Southampton the ball, we're going to drop off, and we're going to go with two banks of four under one, and we're going to try and counter Southampton. Now, I think it's interesting because you have to understand, try and think, what would you do in that moment?
mm,
Southampton are very clear. Under their manager, they've not really worked, in my opinion, too much on attacking, and rightly so. He's come in,
mm,
4 or 5 games, he's been very solid without the ball, apart from the Brentford game. But then, but then you think if a team's not so good with the ball, by giving it to them, you're going to ask them a lot of questions. So you're actually
mm,
now making a team that's very counter-attack come out, and with
mm,
Marcus, with Jaden, with Anthony, United have been very good, even under every manager in the last 3 or 4 years, on the
mm,
transition. So I think that was one of the biggest things. But what I saw was in the start of the second half was United stick to their. So United have gone here, here, here. And we saw Jadon Sancho. This will have to be Casemiro. He's gone. So Southampton was still in their 4-4-2. And what we saw was Jadon Sancho basically as a number 9. And this started straight at the second half. And it lasted until 60 minutes. And this was really interesting because what we saw was still them go man-to-man in there. And we had Jadon as someone who then was basically an extra midfielder.
yeah,
And then after 60 minutes, there was a swap. And Marcus went up top and Jadon went on the left-hand side. And what United did was very good. A bit under Mourinho, United used to do this, and where Mourinho man marks. Instead of going man-to-man early like an Eric or like a Marcelo Bielsa, they just, if the ball's on this side and it's in your area, then you pick up. So they actually changed slightly. But
mm,
Marcus's role was to be slightly higher. So what
yeah,
I think he saw was in the first 15 minutes that we don't need to defend with maybe that number 9 as deep. We can actually use Marcus in there and he'll be a little bit more out. And what
mm,
that does, it gives that transition. If anything breaks, and we know what Marcus is having an unbelievable season, he's gone. So I think it's one of the biggest things I found in football is you play the same position but different profiles. So
mm,
Jaden might come into feet a little bit more, but as soon as
yeah,
Marcus wins, if Marcus is in that position, he's gone. So just by changing the player, the
mm,
role changes. And I think
yeah,
that's maybe the bravery a little bit, Eric, that actually after 15 minutes seeing that and thinking, you know what? we can do something here by being a little bit more attacking. And I've just got something here which sort of highlights that.
Well, he does like to change it up a lot, doesn't he? He always he likes to have the team think that you've got one man to deal with all game, and then all of a sudden, oh wait a minute, I ain't got Rashford no more. He's over there. I need to. Oh, okay. What do I do? How do I deal with this player? So I like the fact that he does that. He mixes it up.
One of the biggest things that I think Eric's brought to the Premier League is his decisiveness. Even in going down to 10 men, there was no hesitation. This is what we're doing now. Everybody makes mistakes. No managers, apart from when you watch Fight at the Fort, by the way, but no manager is not going to make mistakes. So you have to be decisive in those moments. Now, in the afterwards, you might think, I could have done this, I could have done that. But I think his adjustments have been brilliant. I think that's one of the biggest things I've seen from the limited of Man United I've watched this year. His adjustments have been brilliant. And I think it shows. I think it shows. And I think that shows his sort of journey. Bayern Munich, youth B team, then Ajax. I think he's come up the hard way. And I think that speaks volumes. So you see Jaden there a little bit deeper, sort of helping that midfield out. But then you see Marcus. You see the difference. Higher, ready to go. But you also see Scott McTominay then being a bit more aggressive, ready to go. So I think I would say they defended with Marcus 9.5. He did a half a job. And that's not a criticism because I think sometimes you got to use players in the best way. I think as a striker, if the last thing you wanted to do was defend. If you were told you're actually helping the team by staying out because we put you through 5 times, you're going to finish at least once. You know what I mean? Jason Roberts would have finished 400%. But you got to have that you're actually helping the team more by being in that position. So I think that's a really good big thing there. One of the biggest things that I thought would have been really interesting, and here I'm not here to criticize nobody. I thought to myself, if Southampton changed to a 4-3-3, especially when the Marcus Rashford hand was played, if Southampton changed to a 4-3-3, now I know why he didn't, because Ruben's another manager that's earned his stripes the hard way. He would have definitely thought it, but I think he wanted that guarantee of a result at Old Trafford. That point could keep them safe at the end of the year. But if you look at this, obviously he had 2 sort of in quality plays in Romeo and James Ward-Prowse. But if he changed and he'd gone with 2 8s like that, I think that would have really been asked questions of Eric and what would you have done? Because straight away then you get an overload and then it's harder to man-mark.
Yeah.
And what I think we would have seen, I think we would have had to see a bit of a change from Eric and maybe an introduction of Fred in a bit earlier. And they may have had to go to something like a 4-3-2, which would have then protected the middle. And I think we would have seen maybe Marcus or Alejandro in here ready to transition. And I think that would have been the counter move to that. But that would have been a big question for me because that would have blocked the middle, that would control that. Then you've got a 3v3, force the ball wide. Then they would have brought on their big man, Paul. I think Maguire would have come on to match it. So you know that the moves are going to be making from both managers. But I think for me, the 4-3-3 would have really questioned United a little bit more. And I think I understand why he would have done it because it's easy when you're a manager sat in the stand and it's not your team to be praised. But I think if I was on the touchline, I think I'd have done exactly what he would have done. And I've got something here. This is something that happened in the game, just naturally. James Ward-Prowse going as an 8. It wasn't a move or anything, just the way football works. But you straight away see Scott McTominay's head.
Yeah, looking behind him. What's happening?
This is not nice. Nobody wants to, deal with anybody behind them. So, I mean, straight away you see the pointing from Raphael there. He's not my man.
You walking.
Yeah. I don't fancy.
That's what Anthony was doing, by the way. He was doing that to Wan-Bissaka towards the second half. I wasn't happy because he left Wan-Bissaka 2-on-1 at quite a few occasions, and he just kept pointing back like, yeah, you mark him, you go mark him. He's like, how are you going to go out there and leave the space in the middle? You've got to go and track back, and that's what you were saying. Anthony didn't track back.
We've had a lot of private conversation, me and you, about football and about Anthony. I know you've got something.
Well, I like Anthony. I like him, but he didn't track back there in this game. He didn't track back there.
With a player like Wan-Bissaka, who I think is one of the best, is probably the best 1v1 defender.
Yeah,
right? Anthony He's so good, lethal on the transition. He's quick, he's
Yes.
direct. Okay, he's not the finished product, but he's a young lad who will grow into this. Why get him to go back? Why don't you say, listen, you go, you defend, and when you get the ball, I'm in a position high up the pitch that can kill the opponents.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka there. Because
that makes sense. That's why I'm not a coach.
I think you need to ease off the pressure. Remember, you were a striker, yeah? Remember, you were a striker.
But when you're down to 10 men, that was the question, isn't it? When you're down to 10 men, do you really want to be leaving your man 2-on-1 and having them getting chances where we could have maybe went with the man? I know then we wouldn't have anything going in attack. So it's one of them. It's the catch-22, isn't it, really? So, yeah.
I think that's why maybe he should, because I saw the wingers had to defend more. When they went down to 10 men, the wingers had to defend more. And I think Marcus ended up being very good around his own box, not giving a penalty away. But I think it's one of the reasons why Marcus changed as well. That how disciplined can a natural striker be going the other way?
You can't.
You know what
Can't be that
I mean, I always worry from corners when strikers have to mark because it's not natural for them. You know, that's why the whole position's good, because you got one job to head. Obviously, you were a striker that was able to be left out and kill teams on transition, but we're not all as gifted as you. Yeah, we don't all work with
the back, mate. I had to defend as well because I could win headers. That was the problem. I was like, oh man, why'd I have to go and defend? Why can't I be the man on the halfway line?
So this winning header thing, I've got to see yet, to be honest with you.
How can you not remember? No, well, you probably wasn't old enough to remember me, were you?
No, you played in a different generation. So,
exactly.
So yeah, but that's what my thoughts were. I thought, to be honest with you, it was quite an entertaining game. I thought
it was.
Teams. But I thought we saw two good managers who were probably both happy with a point for different reasons, but wanted a bit more. But I think we're very good. So for me, I think it was good. And Bruno Fernandes was good for United, and Romeo Lavia was very good for Southampton.
Yeah. They were very good, very, very good. And look, we rolled our luck second half, and we ended up with a draw. They should have ended up winning the game from having the few extra chances from riding our luck as well. Walcott had them 2 chances, didn't he? First half, I think it was it first half where it's halfway line from the halfway line, or was it, maybe it was once we was 10 down, 10 men.
Yeah,
so he had the header. He had the header early on against De Gea, which he should have scored, and then he had the chance from halfway line. And if that was 10 years ago, Walcott, you could say, let's take kickoff. That's for sure.
I remember Theo Walcott picking up the ball at the edge of the box.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and he just went
the whole pitch.
Whole pitch. I think it's Xabi Alonso. I love Xabi Alonso. I still think he's trying to catch him now. I love Xabi Alonso as a great manager, but I never seen anything like that in my life.
Yeah.
And when I saw him on Sunday to go through, just you feel old, don't you?
Yeah.
He's caught him, so it's amazing. But no, I think a draw was a fair result, to be fair.
It was fair in the end, and then that just said goodbye to our even being in the title race or anyone ever mentioning that again this season. I think too many points dropped in the last couple of weeks where we couldn't afford one mistake and we made 2. A massive one against Liverpool, and this draw here just meant we're totally out of the race completely now, which it was a long shot in the end. But look, it's we're doing well. We've won 1 cup so far in the FA Cup and also in Europa. So it looks like we're moving on to bigger and better things. We've got a good chance of winning 2 more cups, and let's see how it goes. Can we finish in 3rd as well?
Well, if somebody said to you after the Brentford and Brighton games that sat in March you'll be 3rd in the Premier League, a cup in the trophy cabinet, FA Cup still going, Europa League still going, I think every United fan would take
bite your hands off, innit?
100%. I'm not a United fan. I just enjoy football. I don't have an affiliation to a team, but I think United have been a surprise package this year in the most respectful way, and I think that's down to the work that Eric's done. I think next year is going to be a real test because the expectation is going to be higher. And that's going to be a real test for Manchester United next year. But I've got no doubt that Eric's got the experience and the quality to deal with that. And
I think his second window is going to bring in even more players that are going to fit his system, and we're going to see more of what he wants to do. I think he's a little bit restricted in the way he wants to play overall. But once he does bring in his players, I'm sure they will be players that come straight into the first team, not like squad players. We need some of these players to actually be the squad players and bring in more quality to be able to handle the likes of Man City and the likes of Liverpool next season and Arsenal, who are looking like they're here to stay.
Yeah, I think. Are you trying to get yourself a move? Is that what it is? You're trying to get your piece back out.
I wish.
You're good in the air, aren't you? So, I think he's obviously had a difficult first window. Second window, always January is always a difficult. I think it's a big summer for Man United. But I think what you've done in the season is going to hold you in good stead. So
yeah,
I think it's going to be an interesting year next year because Liverpool become strong again next year. I have no doubt. Chelsea under Graham will have a lot of time. So I think it's going to be an exciting Premier League next year.
Yeah,
and Eric, I think, will be right there with United.
Well, perfect. Well, Shadab, thanks for the breakdown of everything you've done. I can hear myself. Well, Shads, thanks for the breakdown. Yeah, thanks for the breakdown of the Southampton game. There, it's really insightful for people that wondered what happened, how it broke down, and how it happened as we went down to 10 men. What changed and what tactics were being used by both sides. So that was great. Is there any other Man United games that you'll be covering coming up that you know of?
I've not got my work schedule yet, so I'm not too sure at the moment. So we'll just see. If there's any games that you want me to go to, let me know, and I'll run it by work.
Make sure you put us first, okay? No worries. We'll be happy.
You always come first. You always come first. Don't worry about that.
Thank you. It's been good. Let me just get this off. Have you got any more to show anyway?
No, is that not enough for you? I'm sorry.
Is that you done, yeah? No,
that
man,
2 days work.
I wanted an hour. I wanted an hour and you give me 39 minutes, man. I'm paying you 20 minutes less.
Sound like Paul Jules talking to you.
I can't even see you. Your internet's on like 1 Mbps. Need to speed it up, mate.
My internet?
Yeah. Your screen was just frozen for a second. But it's all sorted.
I'll tell the neighbour to get it sorted. So
But listen, it's been great. It's been great going through that game. And also it was really a good watching that what is it? Battle at the Fort? Is it called Battle at the Fort?
Could have been a battle.
It was a battle and a fight. It was everything. So, in the middle of nowhere. It was funny.
I tried to sign you as well. What did you say?
Yeah. I can't play. I'm injured.
You said come back for me in the summer. Even though you only signed a 6-month contract.
Oh my gosh, I was never ready, man. My body can't handle anything anymore. But yeah, I'll be back.